Are you ready?
Good news, everyone! I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me.
So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All in Football. Guess who's back? Meaney's back.
Back again. Rocking your flex.
Flex shirt. Oh, rocks.
Yeah.
The one I can wear every 2 years. Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. That's
Oh, yeah, big election night last night in the States.
yeah,
That's right.
This is where I voted, so don't blame me. But it is week 10 of All in Football for fantasy football rankings discussion. And welcome back, Chris Meaney. If you want to check him out and all his hockey goodness and everything you do over at FTN, code ALLIN. Get you 20% off. And The Athletic, go to the rankings. They're out now. And the matchup column comes out later today. I've started including the playoff matchups already, Chris, so people can think about trade deadlines and stuff like that. By the way, if you have Derrick Henry, congratulations. He's going to do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Not only does he do what he does, he does what he does, whatever it might be in December. He's got a glorious remaining schedule, especially in December. He's got Dallas's worst matchup in week 17, which is it's like he's going to run ham on everybody. But Chris, we got week 10 might be one of the biggest news weeks we've had. And the season, let's start with Josh Allen. It really comes down to, everybody wants to know what's going on with Josh Allen. Inside injuries is on top of this. All the injury people are out there is saying the same thing. This is not like baseball. You can play through the UCL. You only throw, 40 times, max 45 times in a game, unless it's really crazy. And even then, it's not the same motion as a pitcher. It's a more natural motion for your body. So it's a pain management. He's up in the air for week 10. The simple version is this, Chris. If you have Josh Allen, you need a backup plan. But the bigger thing is it Stephon Diggs, end of sentence, bench everybody else, including the running backs, if there is no Josh Allen?
I think I would play maybe Singletary, just assuming that there is no Josh
Allen. Even with
Allen.
Nyheim Hines now in the mix?
Yeah, it's sketchy, right? It's pretty crowded. But I think it obviously it's all about context, and we just got through that crazy week with 6 teams on bye. I don't like Singletary's outlook without Josh Allen. Clearly, I don't like this team to be able to move the ball as effectively without Allen. And Case Keenum did a wonderful job a couple years ago filling in when the Vikings went on their run. I think they went to the NFC Championship game to the Eagles and lost. And he is a capable quarterback. But let's be honest about the difference between him and the favorite at MVP, even with a couple dud games over the past couple weeks. It's only Diggs that you could feel confident about starting with rotations in there. Gabe Davis is just boom or bust anyways, with Josh Allen or not. So this is certainly concerning, but yeah, it all depends on context. Singletary is maybe a flex play. Maybe they run the ball a little bit more, but it really is. It's not totally pain tolerance, right? I mean, there's conflicting reports. I read something last night that it's about him gripping the ball, because if you saw after, he hurt the elbow, 2 plays, 3 plays, the final 2 or 3 plays, and then he had like a 60-yard bomb to Diggs after that. But what I read last night is that it's going to be really tough for him to grip the football. He can play through all the pain that he wants to, but being effective, actually tossing that football with accuracy could be an issue. But man, Bills Mafia is sweating it out. I don't know, man. Do you rest this guy for 4 to 6 weeks? Do you lose a playoff spot? Is he going to be 100% in those 4 to 6 weeks? Probably not. So it's really tough, man. I played Diggs, and that's probably it.
Yeah, the Singletary you might need to, like you said, because of running back situations. I don't love it now with Nyheim Hines, and not that Singletary was ever catching that much, but we talked about it when this trade happened, and Singletary has 0 rushing touchdowns. It's not like that's going to magically change. And then all of a sudden, okay, he's discount Derrick Henry, but he's actually doing discount Derrick Henry. He's not even, he's discount bargain bin the $1.99 movies at Walmart Derrick Henry, like where it's like, oh look, I remember watching that in high school. Like it's on VHS too. Wow, terrific. So I'm with like Stefon Diggs, like Gabriel Davis might catch a big one. I think this puts him from, I made the comparison, Chris, to Deshaun Jackson with Gabriel Davis. Like I jokingly said this with Lauren. It's like if you hated him this year, you were right. If you loved him this year, you were right. You were right either way. He's a wide receiver too. He's just Deshaun Jackson, who for that couple of years had about 1,000 yards, 7-8 touchdowns. Guess what? If he played 16 games, he's on pace to eclipse 1,000 yards. Not even 17 games, 16 games. He's on the Deshaun Jackson pace. Yeah. It's just this is what you deal with a player like him. So, yeah, if you still need the upside, you're still playing Gabriel Davis. But you have to understand that it's not necessarily even just a bad floor. It's potentially a 0 with Case Keenum. Like, the good news we know about Case is he will chuck it. Like, he will take shots downfield. So, like, but will they let him is the bigger question, because do they believe they can get away with that backfield now, keeping Case somewhat in check and win games that way, because their defense is starting to turn the corner a little bit. Remember, the defense was vulnerable at the beginning of the year. It started to turn the corner and come back around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just looking to see. I assumed that that line was going to change. Even before the Josh Allen news, I jumped on that 7.5 Vikings. It's now 4.5, 4 in some spots. I thought it was just too high anyways for a team that only has one loss in the season, and the Vikings playing really good football. Just from a betting standpoint and how that game script could go with Allen or not, Allen in there, I still think it's a pretty tight ball game. But yeah, I mean, again, you could do worse with backup. There's a lot of brutal backup quarterbacks in the NFL. We have seen a ton of them this season. Case Keenum is certainly capable. He's still got a lot of weapons around him. So, yeah, I would you got to have clearly all the Josh Allen owners are well aware of this, but you got to have somebody ready to go this week just in case. And the next couple of weeks, I'd be planning ahead just in case this is a 2 to 3 week thing. It could be stream somebody this week, stream a different quarterback, in week 11 and week 12, but you got to have a game plan here.
Here, I'll throw a question at you, Chris. Let's take that. Let's say you have a backup plan. Let's say your backup plan is Jimmy Garoppolo or Matthew Stafford. Let's just throw those two out here. Or even Tyler Heineke. All three of them, because those are 4 o'clock. That's a 4 o'clock. That's a Sunday night and the Monday night football game. Let's say those Stafford, Garoppolo, Heineke. Let's say Allen plays. Do you play Allen or do you play one of those three?
I would play Allen. If he's playing, I'm playing him. Yeah. It's a good question, right? And people are going to ask you that all week. And, I mean, it's warranted, right?
But would you play Tom Brady in Munich?
I mean, Tom Brady's pretty fired up to play that game in Germany this week. I heard him on Sirius had a long drive.
Do you know how many games he has with more than one touchdown this year?
Maybe 2.
1.
Yeah, I was going to say 1 at first, but
1 3-touchdown game.
It was really painful to watch that Bucks and Rams game. Like, I'm sure when the NFL made that schedule, we'll put 2 games on 4 o'clock and, have the Rams and the Bucks, the last 2 teams to win the Super Bowl. It'll be fine. But those 2 teams, they're mirror images of each other. It's mostly the offensive line, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon for those 2 squads. But yeah, I'm playing Josh Allen. I didn't rank him number 1, assuming that he plays. It's the first time, maybe the second or third time this year where I haven't ranked him 1. He's been 1 or 2 all year, mostly just locked into 1.
Wait, what other time did you not rank him 1?
I may have been like another time I ranked Hurts as a homer, and I may have been right about that spot. Last week I didn't have him 1. I had Hurts 1. That was probably it, the 1 week. Great. I got a lot of respect for the Jets defense, and Josh Allen struggled there last year too, or 2 years ago before. There was a game where he only put up 6 points as a team, but you're playing him, right? You have him, you're playing him, right? You drafted him in the 2nd round. You're playing this guy, right? He could battle through, and that's the thing. If he's active, he knows how much pain he's going to have. He's going to play. Yeah.
You're playing him? Speaking of playing him and maybe not wanting to play him, we got 2 similar situations here. So first is Najee Harris. So Najee Harris, I mentioned a worry yesterday with Lauren, and I said if he doesn't come out of the bye, because what I kept comparing it to is, remember last year, Chris, and everybody was like, Antonio Gibson needs to sit for like a month. Like, get him healthy. And the Commanders, the football team at the time, was like, no, we're just going to give him the bye week, and he's fine. And he was. Remember how good Gibson was down the stretch? Gibson was fine with that brief rest. I was saying there's a chance that the Liz Frank injury, maybe this little bit of a layoff, gets him back to 100%, and that's the biggest issue, because he definitely doesn't look like he has any of the burst that he had last year. Not that he was ever, like, super explosive, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at this report, though, the report we see yesterday, and I saw you even tweeting about this, is there are rumors floating around that Jaylen Warren is going to come out of this bye and be the lead running back. So, Chris, it's a two-part question. Are you ranking Warren over Najee Harris first? Second, do you even play either one of them?
No, I'm not playing either one of them. I'm just not doing it. I'm not saying that the reporter is wrong. And I don't know. It felt like he didn't really have a lot of context to it. I forget who it was.
Well, now Mike Florio is jumping on board with this too. Not our friend Mike Florio, the Pro Football Talk Mike Florio.
I'd rather it be our friend Mike Florio, to be honest. I feel like he's a little bit more credible. Anyways, I don't think I could start either running back, and I wouldn't be shocked about this. And you mentioned that I had tweeted it, and I was thinking it to myself as well when they were playing the Eagles, is that he had 0 rushing attempts in the first half of that game. And there were some people that had tweeted me, well, it's the Eagles. Well, guess what? If there's a hole in this Eagles defense, it's their run game. They have not been able to stop running backs. I have a lot of concerns about them moving forward. Yeah, they've been perfect on the season, but guess what? The road through the NFC has a lot of great running backs. Your dog is, if he hears that, he's probably going to start barking here pretty soon. Yeah, me, Barkley, CMC, yeah, Dalvin Cook, yeah. There's a lot of really good running backs in the NFC. But I was just shocked that they never gave him any touches. And then there was a play where everybody started, like Twitter and social media, it's all there. And I'm not saying that Tomlin saw it, but you know, if everybody else is seeing it, Tomlin is certainly seeing it on the sidelines. That there was a play, it was a screen pass, and there was a lot of hesitation in Najee's game. He had like a couple stutter steps where he could have ran 3 or 4 yards, and then he got hit behind the line. So I kind of understand maybe moving on from him just this week. Maybe he's not healthy. Maybe he's not 100%. Just the fact that they're not giving him any touches, Jake. You know what I mean? Like, they're not even really giving him an opportunity. So he can't be 100% at all. But I have a hard time playing Jaylen, and I just do.
Well,
I
so
don't think I'll have him right
say
either, like 1 or 2 spots behind.
And this is what I'll say about it. Is so I do have Najee Harris still in front of Jaylen Warren. I think that you're probably getting a split this week, and depending on what it looks like, if Harris has his burst back, we go back to Harris. If he doesn't, maybe we start to see the trend towards Jaylen Warren. But I will say this. I'm fascinated by, it's the perception thing again. I'm fascinated by the amount of people that are sitting here like, Warren is the better running back. Because why?
Man.
Why? Look at the draft capital. Look at the talent. Look at the player. Look at like I get Warren looks good. Like, I'm not dismissing. And with James Robinson,
he looks
undrafted running
okay
back,
though.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
okay,
it wouldn't be the first time a running back's popped up and been better than somebody drafted rounds ahead of him. That being said, it doesn't look like he's Christian McCaffrey. Why are we assuming Jaylen Warren is going to fix what is wrong with the Steelers, which is not just Najee Harris and not being 100%. It's that offensive line, and it's Kenny Pickett and this offense. Like, the offense is broken. Like, we're sitting here, like, and it's not just this team. It's everybody like, oh, Rachaad White, if he takes over, it's going to be better than Leonard Fournette. Like, it's all these situations that, like, we think the other running back is just going to magically fix what's wrong with the team.
Right. And
perfect example. Hold on,
holes.
sorry to jump in because you're about to answer the question. Perfect example. This player is going to fix. Cam Akers is going to get fixed because Darrell Henderson's better. Oh, Darrell Henderson doesn't look very good. So Kyron Williams, when he comes in, is going to be better. Like, it's the team.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying with the Bucks earlier. The Bucks and the Rams. I mean, those two teams. The Bucks are the worst rushing team in the NFL. It's not even close. And is it on Fournette? Maybe a little bit. They don't want to run the ball anyways, but the offensive line is not good in Tampa. It's not good in LA. It's not good in Pittsburgh. But what I will say is that the schedule is super, super tough for the Steelers to start the season. It does get a little bit better. I mean, the Saints this week, the Bengals, these are still tough teams to run on. I mean, the Saints are not the same New Orleans team. We just saw Drake have, a bit of a day. But the Saints, the Bengals, and the Colts, even with the Colts and the shit show that they have been this year and over the last 24 hours, 48 hours, they're still a tough team to run on. And after that, it does open up a little bit more for them. The one thing I will say is that Warren is catching a few passes. I don't know. He had that game against the Eagles where he had 3 grabs, 3 targets.
Najee Harris led football in receptions last year.
I know,
running backs.
and it wasn't even close.
I'm not coming for you. I'm just saying, like, this is what's so baffling about it. All right, so let's play a couple scenarios for you. Well, so we did waivers yesterday, but let's kind of touch on this again. So Isaiah Pacheco for Jaylen Warren, would you make the switch? Because I would. Because I think the only time you can play Pacheco is hoping that the Chiefs are in a blowout situation because McKinnon's still leading in snaps despite not being there in touches. And you kind of need, I compared him to James Cook for the Bills before they traded for Hines. And in that case, I would take the chance that Warren takes over because, like Deion Jackson, you still might get some good games. You still might get RB1 value for a few games because of the volume situation. So I would make the swap of Pacheco for Warren. So you would too.
Yeah, I would. I mean, the Chiefs are forget about the quote unquote starter thing. It's nonsense. It's a full on committee, and they like to throw the football.
Would you drop Darrell Henderson? Darrell Henderson for Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, I would. Again, like Harris didn't catch a lot of passes. He still caught a couple, and it's nowhere near last year with Big Ben. But no Chase Claypool. It's still a pretty pathetic team that can't stop the pass. So there could be some catches, more usage than Pacheco or Henderson. I mean, maybe not more usage than Henderson, but potentially.
All right, so I'm gonna move it up one more spot. This one's a little bit aggressive, and this is also coming for somebody that you and I are both fans of before we're heading into the season. Who, do you know where I'm going? Who had their incumbent come back and look really good in his replacement. But also, Tyler Algier did not go completely away. Would you drop Tyler Algier to go pick up Jaylen Warren?
I don't think so. I just
what
think
if he was what if he was your RB4 and you're purely shooting for that ceiling?
That's a good follow-up question. Like, if you're not starting Tyler Algier.
Thank you.
I liked it. You're a good reporter over there. If you're not starting Tyler Algier, then why not shoot for the upside? Yeah, they could shut him down. Let's be honest. Like, we're talking this out, that he's potentially going to get benched this week, that he hasn't looked good, and he's been dealing with an injury since training camp. Even well before training camp. We didn't even hear about this news until a week before the season started that he had a list.
You talking about Jaylen Warren? Oh, Najee Harris. Oh, that's big. I know, because you don't have to report injuries in preseason. I don't think that should be a thing in the NFL. I think you should be allowed to get away with that.
Yeah, I guess so.
I know that's selfishly for fantasy, but at the same time, why are there different rules? Why are you allowed to not report injuries in preseason? And then the NFL is so strict. I know.
To hear that after, like, whoa, what do you mean? Didn't hear any of this. But so all of these factors and then the Steelers at the end of the day are not going to sniff the playoffs. So if they shut him down, then you're still looking at a running back.
My biggest concern.
Use this running back. Yeah,
I actually said that yesterday, Chris. I said if Najee Harris comes out and doesn't look better, like still looks like this is a lingering issue, shut him down, potentially shut him down. I'm worried about him getting shut down. I'm worried about Jonathan Taylor getting shut down, and I'm worried about Josh Jacobs getting shut down late in the season. Not necessarily now, but he's not coming back. They can evaluate Zamir White. They're going for a draft pick at this point. They're looking for a new quarterback, possibly.
Absolutely.
Those are the big three that I'm worried about for getting shut down. So speaking of Jonathan Taylor, if he's out there, you got to start him, right? Like, you would take Jonathan Taylor over Najee Harris still, right?
Yes.
Even in that offense? Okay.
Yeah.
The question, though, comes down to, let's say Jonathan Taylor's out. Would you go Deion Jackson or Jaylen Warren? Actually, Deion Jackson, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris. Do you just start Deion Jackson over both of them just because of the volume? Because it wasn't very good last week, and he got banged up, too.
Yeah, he did get banged up. I was looking for more info on that. I didn't really see anything. Things are not great in Indy. I'm sure Saturday could maybe help the offensive line just a little bit. But
I want to get your opinion real quick on this. So I said this yesterday, and I want to see if you agree with me. I think the Jeff Saturday thing is not Irsay being an idiot. I think it's sneakily smart. And this is what I said to Lauren yesterday. I just get your quick opinion because everybody who watched yesterday already knows what I said. I said, this is a really smart move because there's no downside for him. Everybody's calling him an idiot for doing this. If Saturday bombs, if they go 0 and whatever for the rest of the season and end up with a top pick, fine. That's what they want to do anyway. They are tanking. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
The Colts are tanking. Like, for everybody that came for the Dolphins, you should be hitting up the Colts. Like, the NFL should be coming for the Colts right now.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if Saturday surprises and looks like this genius hire, congratulations. You're smarter than everybody else, Jim Irsay.
Yeah, and and I know he's got an ego. There's no question that he does have one. It was a pretty shocking hire, though. Let's be honest. I think the entire NFL world was shocked. I'm sure
was
people
shocked
inside
by it.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say people inside ESPN was like, "Whoa, wait, seriously?" But he even said himself that he was shocked. So there's no question they're tanking. You know, Matt Ryan, I'm not going to say that he does have a pec injury or he doesn't, but, you know, inside his contract, if he plays X amount of
Brandin Cooks,
snaps,
wrist injury.
He's getting a boost in terms of extra money. So they save a little bit of cash that way. They fire poor Frank Reich, because he's a really good quarterbacks coach. Like he did wonders with Nick Foles in the Super Bowl run, and this is what they've given him in Indy, like an aging Phillip Rivers. They probably should have kept Jacoby Brissett because he looks okay, but an aging Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, a Matt Ryan. They don't go to Nick Foles. To your point, they're tanking. Nick Foles gives them a better opportunity to win. If you're a Michael Pittman owner, you want Nick Foles under center, not Sam Ehlinger. So yeah, they're tanking. I would play Warren, I think.
Over Deion Jackson?
Because I don't, who knows, man? Like, why, maybe it's not Jackson. Maybe it's Zach Moss. I don't know.
Okay, so
maybe it's Wilkins.
Is Pittman benchable? Pittman now a wide receiver 3, boom bust?
Yeah, I would say a 3/flex, very boom bust. Yeah, but let's be honest about the Pats and what Bill Belichick
Ehlinger in his first game, not that good.
quarterback.
Some Ehlinger in the second game, not that bad. Probably somewhere in between, but somewhere in between is still not that good. Somewhere in between is still Davis Mills. Like that. That's what really good. So, speaking of Davis Mills, and I brought up Brandin Cooks. Do you even care if Nico Collins is out there? If Brandin Cooks doesn't play again? And here's the second part of it, Chris. I'm telling people I hate to do it, but at least 1 for 1, I'm correct on hating to do something. 1 for 1, about 3 weeks ago, I said, go ahead and drop Michael Thomas. I'm done waiting for him. And I wasn't expecting the surgery and to be done for the year, but I was just done. I was like, how much longer are we going to wait for this? Like, what's going on? Yeah. Brandin Cooks, I'm saying the same thing. Like, it's turning into an AJ Green, Michael Thomas thing. Is like he might just sit out the rest of the year. You can't keep sitting there because he's not out. So what do you do? Yeah. So are you okay with dropping Brandin Cooks? And then if so, do you have any interest in Nico Collins?
I don't think so. And I mean, I have some Nico Collins. I've been a Nico Collins supporter. I think I drafted him in your flex league. I mean, I think in a deep league, if you're just looking for some wide receiver help and guys like Wan'Dale Robinson are not available, Terrace Marshall's not available. You know, I saw Pickens was still, he's still kind of available. Like these are the guys that I would rather play over him.
People drop Pickens during the bye.
Same thing with Wan'Dale. He was the most dropped player last week. He's the most added this week. I
don't get how Pickens was out there though. Like I didn't even include him in the waiver column because he was there for 18 weeks in a row. I'm exaggerating. And then he was well over 60. And then all of a sudden people are like, why didn't you include Pickens? He's at 56%. I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even bother looking for Pickens because I didn't think that people were that insane.
You just assume. I know. And meanwhile, Kadarius Toney, 115% ownership. Like, people just get crazy over certain dudes. But, I think
should I drop Patrick Mahomes to pick up Kadarius Toney?
Oh, man, Kadarius Toney. Oh, my goodness. The player that I'm most worried about in that Chiefs offense is probably MVS because, you know what? It's taken a few years. And I know I've been hard on this player, and it's maybe not so much this player, but Mecole Hardman is really kind of looked pretty good inside this offense.
Well, then here, you make the case for it because here's what I'm going to say. Oh, no. I'm not in on Mecole Hardman because of the. Yeah. I know it's a stretch, but again, he's fourth. This is what I said. This is my argument against Mecole Hardman. He's still fourth in the pecking order, fourth, before Kadarius Toney even gets mixed in more. And I know he's got the touchdown run, but you know what happened last year? He had a touchdown run. This is Mecole Hardman. You know what's going to happen for the next 4 weeks? He's going to get zeros. Like, I get it, and if you want to chase it, I'm not going to say I hate it. I would just rather pick up Wan'Dale Robinson. I would rather call me stupid, and I'm fair to go from here on out for the rest of the season. I will victory lap Juju Smith-Schuster. You're welcome, Casey. Yeah, I think you were in on him too. So I'll victory lap the 9 out of 10 I get wrong, or wrong. The 9 out of 10 I get wrong. I would have this show if that was the case. Cam Akers was definitely one of the 10 that I get wrong. I will be happily making Mecole Hardman another one of the 10 that I get wrong. I'm just not in on him. You make the case for Mecole Hardman because it seems that people are more with you.
I can't make a case to start him with confidence, but I'll just say that everyone that's going nuts about Kadarius Toney, when that trade happened, he was an immediate sell high candidate for me. Like people you're just wasting a roster spot 2 years in a row on your bench for Kadarius Toney. The one thing I will say is that I don't know. I'd say he's probably the third option. I would say that Kelsey, Juju, and then him. I think MVS is just out there.
Okay, that's the thing. He's third in targets,
snaps,
but he's fourth probably in snaps and routes. Still behind
MVS. MVS is still out there more than him.
And that's before Toney. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know me. My Toney is just.
I know. It's just I can't say that again I can't say that you play this guy with confidence, but I will say that the Chiefs are obviously rolling offensively. They're really good. They're not wanting to run all that much.
What's the difference
He just looks a little bit like Tyreek Hill inside the red zone, which I like. That's it.
So I'll tell you what's the difference between Mecole Hardman and Alec Pierce?
Well, offense, quarterback.
Oh, well, right, but I mean, like
to score
the games very similar. It's just Hardman's is in a row. And look, I'll come back.
That they're really using Hardman inside the red zone again. It's kind of like I've noticed. It's almost looks like a little mini Tyreek Hill inside, like little quick outs
there you go.
In the flat and the rest.
Play Mecole Hardman over Jaylen Waddle, everybody.
Play him over Tyreek Hill, guys. He's the new Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. But anyways, like back to what you said. Like if I'm Brandin Cooks, you are fighting for your life. Your next contract, food on the table for your family, for your kids. We can get into that as a narrative, you believe that or not. But this is the reason why AJ was held out, because he didn't want to force it. And you mentioned another guy, Michael Thomas, as well. Unfortunately, it didn't work out from this year, but I wouldn't expect Cooks to want to play. You know what I mean? And somebody has to catch passes there, but I'm not going to feel great about rolling out Nico Collins.
So I brought up the Dolphins, and let's get back to running backs real quick. The Wilson Mostert situation we talked about yesterday. Wilson comes in and immediately leads. It's a very slim margin, but the usage of the two and how Wilson fits and Mostert fits, it's probably 50-50 going forward, in my opinion. And what I compared it to yesterday, Chris, was this is what we've been waiting for. Like everybody keeps referencing Broncos. I brought them up a couple times. I think this is now the truest version of the 2021 Broncos we could see, which means go ahead and start both, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this story before in San Fran. Wilson stealing touches from Mostert. We've seen it. Wilson was really involved, right? And that's just super telling. For how many times have you seen a running back that involved traded that week? Like he knows the system off by hand.
First game. Doesn't happen
he knows
often.
It's the San Fran system, so play both.
Let's do this. Let's say Zeke plays this week. Do you play both Miami running backs over Zeke?
Yes. I would play both over Zeke. Yeah.
Would you play Pollard still with Zeke over both? Or would you mix and match? Would it go Wilson, Pollard, Mostert, Zeke?
Wait, yeah. Pollard, Wilson, like if Zeke is active. If Zeke is active, obviously if he's not active, you go Pollard. But I would say probably I think I want to go Wilson over Mostert. They're side by side in my rankings. I got Mostert and Wilson. I think Mostert is the goal line back, but Wilson is probably, I don't know, he caught a bunch of passes. Like he could be the third down back there, which is very like the on third down situations, catching a few passes more so than Mostert. But I think I would go Wilson, Mostert, Pollard. It's really tight. It's really tight. If I'm Dallas, I'm saying, listen, Zeke, take another week. let's
Zeke take a week.
Pollard out there. Take a week. Playing the Packers.
If I gave you the choice, Chris, this week, you have to start a Rams running back and tell me which one, or you have to watch every single minute of the Colts Raiders game. Which would you pick?
I have a buddy going to that game live. He's probably not going to enjoy it
because the tickets are probably $3.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't 2 months ago, but I'd say they are now. There's no question. Man, the Raiders, oh my goodness. I would play Henderson. He still seems like he's the lead. He had a couple decent runs, like a 10 and 12-yard run. But again, the offensive line is trash. The poor Cam Akers. I mean, he got 5 carries for 3 yards. Great. Kerwin Williams, what's that guy going to do?
The biggest thing is there's zero threat of Cam Akers in the passing game, so it's very
exactly.
You know what the issue is there? And I'm not making any apologies for Cam Akers at this point, but it's very similar to what's going on with Najee Harris. Like the offensive line is so bad, but you're also not using said running back very much in the passing game, which tells defenses a little bit what your plan is when you're on the like. This goes back to what we talked about for the Patriots all the time. It's like they mix and match, but it's not James White only pass catcher. Like they sometimes use it, so you had to respect other things.
Yeah.
You give away your hand. And you kind of make them account for one less thing, and all of a sudden the defense is more likely to stop said play. So are you stashing Kyren Williams, though?
I am in deep formats, but I just don't think he's anything special either. I think I know McVay talked him up, and I think he's just a change of pace guy. I just view him as probably better in passing situations than anybody they have on the roster. I don't view him as a guy that's going to behind that line. get him 12 to 15 carries. I don't view him as a guy that's going to be super efficient. But yeah, at this time of the year, Jake, I think you probably said it in your article. This is the time of the year that you just need to stash dudes, next man up, running back. You need to especially if you're comfortable and it seems like you're going to be into the playoffs. You need to be just stashing next man up running backs. I'm talking deep too, like even Samaje Perine. I don't care. Like just make sure that these guys are on your roster because you don't want to be battling with a guy come week 13 or 14 for that next man up running back. So in a deep league, I'd stash him over Akers at this point.
So last running back situation before we move on, because then you can skip this section if you're listening on Friday because it's about Thursday Night Football. Deontay Foreman with Chuba Hubbard back. 2 straight games, Deontay Foreman with no Hubbard. Barely any passing game work. About 40% of the time on the field in those situations. Long downs, passing downs, that type of situation. They clearly want lead running back, because Chuba Hubbard, you and I talked about, was the lead in the first week when they split. So the lead option being Deontay Foreman right now, who I still have as an RB2, has that threat with Hubbard back. Should be plenty of running against the Falcons. I mean, this game might be done in 2 hours. So would you go Foreman or Fournette this week?
I think I would. Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. I think I would go Fournette, but it's really close to me. White. We've been talking about Rachaad White for weeks. I think I have them. I think I got them both like 21. Like
where would you put Jamal Williams with them? With DeAndre Swift still not 100%.
I would play Jamal Williams over both of those.
So guys. I go Jamal, Foreman, Fournette, just so you know, in my rankings.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How far down do you have Fournette? Like low end RB2?
18.
Like
18.
Okay. Yeah.
One spot in front of David Montgomery, just because I always like the David Montgomery situation. Detroit. Just annoying as hell. Like it is Detroit, which should be great, but it's like. There's no rhyme or reason to this team. It's like, oh my God, 50-50. They both look great. Yay, woo. Next year, 90% Montgomery. Like,
yeah, and then you also have Fields, who just is
and if I'm missing anything, look, I know you guys are listening to us for the advice because this is our job. We sit here and watch all the games. Like, if there is something I'm missing because I've gone back, everybody, like, please tell me if I'm stupid on this one. I've gone back and looked at the Bears games. There's no matchup, there's no game flow, game script, they're up, they're down, there's nothing that predicts the usage of when Khalil Herbert gets about 50% or almost none. I've tried, I've looked, there has to be an answer unless there just is none.
And it's also not even hot hand. Like
that's what I'm saying.
There really is no rhyme or reason for it. Yeah, it's sometimes I've seen Montgomery look really good and then Khalil is on for the next series or so. So there's no real rhyme or reason. It's a good spot for both of these guys. I think they'll run the rock, but I don't know. There's a lot of questions in there, and I think the answer is Foreman over a lot of those questions. Like I'd still start him.
Before I get to wide receiver, real quick, I'm going to run through 15 through 22 just for you, and you tell me just like off the top of your head. See, do these sound right? Everybody can go to the site and can see the full rankings for all of them. This is what I currently have. I have Miles Sanders at 15, Washington. Although Washington's been sneakily good against the run. But still, Miles Sanders, I think that game should be in control. That's kind of why. So Miles Sanders, Jamal Williams, Foreman, Fournette, Montgomery, Jeff Wilson, Tony Pollard, Raheem Mostert. How does that feel to you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good. Again, just Pollard. If there's no Zeke, Pollard, I think over a lot.
Pollard, moves up to RB1.
Yeah, top 12.
I would to be honest with you, Tony Pollard would versus Dameon Pierce at 10. I'd probably put Pollard over Pierce.
Yeah, just considering that the Cowboys, coming off that bye offense, it's you're splitting hairs, and it's mostly about the offense being better against the pack.
So let's talk wide receivers, and I don't see a scenario where you're benching Amari Cooper. But our friend Rich Rebar has pointed out a very interesting, and it's anomalous, I think that's the correct word, is that Amari Cooper has been catching touchdowns only at home and been great at home and shaky on the road. Meanwhile, Donovan Peoples-Jones has been great on the road and terrible at home. On top of that, let's take this one more level here, Chris. A lot of man coverage. I guess Amari Cooper means Amari Cooper does things very well. Like he destroys man coverage. Conversely, Miami has been shutting teams down at home and exploited on the road. how do you parse through this of playing Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones? Because you have two on both sides here where you could go man coverage and then the road, Miami at home, Miami on the road. Like, there's just so much to get through.
Can we, like, I love Rich, but it's very interesting. That's just such a small sample. I don't know, man. Like,
sure, of course. That's why I asked it.
The one thing I will say about Miami games at home is, and the way that they've constructed their stadium, I mean, that sun is always shining on that visitor's bench. It's crazy. Every time I watch Miami games at home, the broadcast makes a point of bringing that up. They show everybody on the sidelines. They're all
why don't
sweating.
teams bring the little shields with them?
Start bringing tents. Yeah, they need to. Absolutely. This is ridiculous. I'm still playing Amari, regardless.
Would you risk Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Miami. I actually like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think
Donovan Peoples-Jones or Alec Pierce.
Peoples-Jones. Yeah,
Peoples-Jones
even over Hardman.
Or
I mentioned Hardman earlier.
That's where I was going next. Peoples-Jones or Hardman.
I thought you would. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he's a really good pickup too. If we're going to get Deshaun Watson here after their bye through the playoff stretch, I'd like this offense obviously a lot more. No disrespect to Jacoby's look pretty good, but yeah, man, Peoples-Jones looked all right. Those look pretty good.
Okay. All right.
And so Miami, you know what I'd say about Miami? That could be they might have to throw the football a little bit more than they want to, because Tua's been great. What a story. Everybody was crapping all over this guy. He's not accurate. He led the league in completion percentage of passes of at least 20 yards down the field. Nobody cared because he only threw the ball 26 yards or 26 times over 20 yards. So great. He was 13 for 26. Who cares? But nobody cared about that. But this year's completion percentage is off the charts. He's got the best deep ball in the game. Tyreek Hill is setting. He just set a record.
Getting right. Do you want me to victory lap Tua? Do you want me to victory? That was on Tua.
Go do it. I mean, this Miami offense is fantastic. It's great. They got weapons all over the field. Mike McDaniel, it looks like the next, I don't know, Sean McVay, Shanahan. Like, he just looks like a terrific play caller. And Tua.
Well, let me ask you
Tyreek Hill is better with Tua than Patrick Mahomes. It's
since we're talking quarterbacks. Before we get to wide receivers, let's talk quarterbacks real quick. So, two-part question here. Well, two different questions, I should say. Tua versus Justin Fields. Rest of the season, who are you taking?
I think I'll take Tua. And I think Justin Fields is a sell-high candidate. He's got the bye week.
I'm with you too.
Week 14 bye right before playoffs, and then his
schedule's
kind of
shaky
matchups: Philly and Buffalo.
Boom. There you go. I mentioned that yesterday too. So that's my
I
biggest
love
concern.
I
love Fields too, but the biggest problem that comes down to is what I mentioned is it's the similar risk you have with Geno Smith, which when at the time what I compared Geno Smith to was with the same thing. So Ryan Tannehill is Geno Smith is Justin Fields, obviously with way more rushing with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the efficiency in getting touchdowns. If he doesn't keep throwing touchdown plus on 170 yards.
I know.
And that's the biggest issue. I love Justin Fields. Tua and Justin Fields were both some of my top breakout quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
I love him.
We compared him on this show to Jalen Hurts. That was the comparison.
10 times over because it's that rushing upside and you just have to be a
we all talked Trey Lance, but Trey Lance came with an expensive price tag and Justin Fields did not. He's exactly Jalen Hurts from last year.
So
maybe
then
he's going a little bit later than Hurts. Let's
dig deeper since we're talking quarterbacks. We have Russell Wilson coming out of a bye, hoping there's any hope left for this. Hoping there's hope. Hoping amongst they're facing Tennessee's pass defense, which has been highly exploitable until last week, which that defense showed up great against Kansas City, which is just
play
weird.
well against the Chiefs. That's it.
So you got Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo gets the Chargers defense at home, and then going back to Matthew Stafford, but let's bring in Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Do you have a favorite of these? Like Russell Wilson, disappointment. Tom Brady, disappointment. Aaron Rodgers, disappointment. Matthew Stafford, disappointment. And then all of a sudden Jimmy Garoppolo is just kind of like, hey, I'm here with these guys because I'm just doing Jimmy Garoppolo things. All four of them turned into Jimmy Garoppolo this year. Do you have a preference of those at this point?
I think it's Jimmy G. Out of all those names that you said, I think it's Jimmy G. I trust the offensive line right now. I like the play caller and I like all the weapons inside that offense. So he was pretty good before the bye. I think he had 2 or 3 decent games in a row. CMC, right? Debo's coming back. It looks like a lot of a nice pass catchers who are explosive after the catch. I would say after that it is Tom. Like I still like the weapons that are there with him, and I heard Todd Bowles on Sirius
to say that.
Well, I heard Todd Bowles on Sirius when I was listening, and man, the guy's like, he just sounded like he was half asleep. It just like I don't know. I mean, they were asking about the offense, and he just didn't seem like I don't know about him as a coach. I think he's a great defensive coach, but I don't like him as a head coach. I think that's an issue. I would like to see Bruce Arians come back on the field, but I would just play Tom because they're chucking a lot, and there's good weapons inside that offense. Like there's a solid 1 and a solid 2. Kate Otten looked great. What are we talking about with Rodgers? This guy is a joke. There's nobody inside his offense that's any good. And then what are we talking about the Rams after Cooper Kupp? What? Allen Robinson, great. Tyler Higbee,
You just remind me of the Noriega song. What?
Higbee? Who cares? He's playing Arizona this week. Who cares? I don't care.
Higbee has been nothing. By the way, for as bad as as bad as Brady has been, 15 points per game behind him. Mariota, Carr, Dalton, Wilson, Dak, Winston. Dak got hurt. Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan. Way down at 11.7, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's only averaging 0.2 more points per game than Baker Mayfield.
Holy crap. Wow. I don't know what to say about that. It is pretty bad. Hey, at least he got a Super Bowl ring.
At least they got a Super Bowl. And a lot of commercials.
Again, it's not all on him either.
You know what it is? It's the commercial curse. Baker Mayfield was just trash, but like the progressive. But Matthew Stafford doing all these ATT commercials, they ruined him. Yeah. This is the new Madden curse. Stop doing commercials. Stop doing. Get out of there, everybody.
It's true.
You know what? That was the year that Saquon Barkley got hurt with the soup commercial, the beefy, chunky, meaty, whatever it was. Beefy, chunky, meaty. I'm gonna get some beefy, chunky, meaty soup after this. Yeah, the pizza one too. That's that's your fault for doing
the pizza.
Oh my gosh, that's your fault for Little Caesars. Little Caesars, that you want to mess me up? Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, Fox mentioned Brady's doing
the World Cup
commercials. There you go.
Oh man, I think he goes.
Stop doing. So what was Russell Wilson doing? Was he doing any commercials?
He's doing high steps. Can we talk about? Was it? How you do high steps? Kirk Cousins is jumping all around on planes. Meanwhile,
Fox is right. Russell Wilson had Subway. He had the Subway commercials.
Yeah. And I actually joked in my home league. I took Russell Wilson as I was big on Sutton Wilson. I was like, I really wanted this stack. And then when I saw all these silly commercials come up over the past month, I'm like, I wish I would have known that. It's like, wait, have you not been following Russell Wilson for the past 3 years? He's been doing nonsense in front of a camera.
No.
Not on the football field for a while now. I should have known.
And real quick, Jiggles, no, Little Caesars is not pizza. Little Caesars is bread with tomato sauce, or actually it's probably ketchup and some processed cheat like that dollar. We'll go back to Walmart again. That off-brand.
$5 pizza, right? Yeah, they're no good.
Yeah, it's high school pizza that you got at lunch. Yeah. I'm surprised they don't have those little tiny mini square pepperonis that you got in high school on there.
Yeah.
By the way, pizza, number one for my rankings this week. I did the top football game day foods. Pizza, number one, of course.
Oh, yeah. Pizza, number one. Wings? Wings, number 2 or 3?
Buffalo chicken dip was number 2. That's
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sliders, fried pepperoni. All of a sudden,
sliders there. Pigs in blanks are there. Did you know? Do you know what the plurals of pigs in a blanket is? It's pigs in blankets. That's the plural of pigs in a blanket. It's pigs in blankets.
Pigs in blankets. Okay.
Blankets. So there you go. Yep. What you brought up Terrace Marshall before, and I threw that in there as you said, that little bit of my boy. Yeah. Are you starting Terrace Marshall at this point?
I mean, this is about context. I do have that decision in one of my leagues. I know nobody cares about my leagues, but I was looking at it the other day.
Would you start Terrace Marshall or Darius Slayton?
Terrace Marshall who?
Terrace Marshall or Darius Slayton?
I would start Marshall.
Terrace Marshall or Alec Pierce?
Marshall. Here's a spot in my league. Wan'Dale Robinson, Terrace Marshall, or Michael Pittman. I mean, you get too cute there and play. You got to play Pittman, right?
Pittman's playing the Raiders.
I know. Yeah, they're brutal.
Here's one for you. Terrace Marshall is facing this person. Terrace Marshall or Drake London.
Marshall. You know,
That's
it
where
looked
we're
good
at.
that London got 7 targets and Pitts got 7 targets. It's great. These guys got 7 targets. You got to feel good about that. But unless you're playing in a league with air yards, and even then, what's the air yards? Mariota's not chucking it deep down the field. So just play Terrace Marshall at this point. I think they're going to Walker on Thursday, right? I think they
already
made that
announced it,
call.
yeah.
Yeah. And then Sam Darnold was activated and Baker got in there last week.
Terrace, I'll give you one.
3
Chris.
decent games in a row for Marshall.
So speaking of games, decent games, I want to check this real quick because I have a feeling it's not very good. It looks pretty good because of like 2 games. So let's check this game log. The game log for said player: 0. There's a full game. 0.
Good start.
11.5, 26.9, 3.2, 13.7, 12.9, 4.8, 3.2. Do you know who this is? And
It's not
would
Gabe
you
Davis because Gabe
No.
Davis has like a 30 in there.
It's very similar to Gabe Davis. It's your boy, Devonta Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Devonta Smith, or we're going Devonta Smith over Terrace Marshall still, right?
Yeah, I think you shoot for that upside. The one thing I've said a lot this year is that, you know, Philly just there seems to be a game plan heading in, and they stick to that. Hey, guess what? We'll throw all over the Steelers. It's an AJ day. Last week was a Dallas Goedert day. I think Miles Sanders has had a couple days there where you can run on a team. So I think Smith actually, I believe he had a decent game against Washington. I'd have to check that earlier in the year he did, but I would play him just on pure upside alone. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get out of here, tight ends we don't usually talk about a lot, but if Darren Waller is back, do you plug him right back in? Obviously,
No.
context. I was gonna say contextual. I really dragged it out. Contextual. You don't plug him right back in. Not even as a low end tight end one. Would you play him over Higbee? I'd play him over Higbee.
Yeah, I'd play him over Higbee. I would play Dulcich over him, Pat Freiermuth, Schultz, Everett, Njoku, Kate
Okay,
Otten,
sure. Hold on. Okay,
and
okay.
Pitts. I'd play all those guys over him.
I wouldn't play Kate Otten. I have Cameron Brate in the ranks right now. Would you play Kate Otten even if Brate is back?
No, if Brate's back, I would.
Okay. Pitts or Darren Waller?
I'd play Pitts.
I'd play Darren Waller. Why? Because you
Yeah.
want to chase Pitts 1 good game? 2 good games?
I don't want to play either of these guys. I don't want to, but I would play Pitts. I don't think Waller is going to play anyways. Like, this guy's just put him on IR. What are you guys doing? Just put him on IR. Also, tank. You mentioned all these other teams, tanking. It's time for the Raiders to tank now. It really is. Like, they're going to get a top 5 pick. You're probably going to draft a quarterback. Maybe, I'd say, you're probably drafting a quarterback. You mentioned Josh Jacobs. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Let's see what they got in Zamir White. Adams is great. Adams is going to hate his life over the next little bit, especially next year if they have a rookie quarterback. He may regret his decision, even though Rodgers doesn't look all that good. But it's time to maybe play Foster Moreau. I know that the Raiders looked at trading Waller, but it seems at this point it was a massive mistake not to flip that guy in the offseason.
Okay. If you had to pick one, this is actually a good question before we get out of here from a little big man. Is Freiermuth or Dulcich for the rest of the season?
Oh, I had that question.
Both their schedules for tight ends are glorious down there. They actually have
Really
2 of the top
good.
5 schedules.
Really good.
For reference, the adjusted points allowed that I have up the Athletic was updated today. Jets, if you can still get George Kittle, go get him. Because it's Jets, 49ers, Broncos, Steelers, and then Texans. What a waste there.
I think I would play Pat Freiermuth. I like that Claypool's gone. Last week was a bit of a
That's the
dud, the
biggest
last
thing.
time against
Yeah.
Philly. But before that, there was a lot of targets there. So I would view him as like
And
maybe
if
the
Higbee
2,
wasn't
maybe the
already done
3.
for you, the Rams have the second worst schedule for tight ends for the playoffs.
Get rid of
So,
him. See Taysom Hill
he
there
done.
too. Lee, don't do it. Just forget about Taysom Hill too. Whatever. Who cares?
The Rams
You
actually
could
have,
chasing this like rushing touchdown from him.
the Rams' only good part of their schedule down the playoffs. This is playoffs only. Is the running
not gonna
backs?
make
They're dead last in passing quarterbacks. They're second to last in receivers and dead last or second to last at tight ends too. They're middle of the pack for running backs. But guess what? Who cares about the running backs? Unless Kyren Williams
I saw
can do
their
something.
defense on the waiver wire too, and I'm like, wow, Rams.
And then you're like,
not
oh,
doing it.
wait,
Even though
maybe
it's
not
against
get it.
Kyler, I'm not doing it.
understand
Not
that.
doing it. I think I'll roll out the Raiders defense against the Colts over them. Imagine that. I'll probably do that.
Yep. All right.
Sick.
We'll be back on Monday. Welcome back to Chris Meaney. Check out his work over at FTN. Code ALLIN gets you 20% off. Check out everything at The Athletic. Everything's updated for you guys. And we'll see you later. He's back. I'm healthy. Yay.